Mhm. Let's start. Let's start. Good afternoon, good day. Now, topic. Are you hear me? Are you see me? Please write in the chat. Are you hear me? Добрый день, Sharma. Yeah. Now let's start. Topic of today lessons: measles and whooping cough. Whooping cough in children. Whooping cough, pertussis. Another word, pertussis. An acute infectious diseases caused by Bordetella pertussis, transmitted by airborne droplets, characterized by paroxysmal convulsive cough. About epidemiology. The source of infection is patients with both typical and atypical forms. Patients with atypical forms whooping cough pose a particular epidemiology danger in family with close and long-term contact. Source may be also carries whooping cough. World. There are 60 million cases of pertussis each year worldwide, resulting in great 5,100 deaths. Widespread use of pertussis vaccine led to a greater than 99% decline in cases. Approximately 60% of cases currently are in adolescents and adults. Prospective and serologic studies suggest that pertussis is underrecognized, especially among adolescents and adults. In India, the incidence of pertussis declined sharply after launch of universal immunization program. I think everybody know this program in your country, universal immunization program. Before, India reported about 200,000 cases, and 100 deaths in a year in 1917. Now, in 2017, for example, 23,000 cases, decline of more than 75%. However, the actual number may be high considering the low. The data on pertussis disease and infection in adolescents and adults is sorely lacking. Further, there is no data on Bordetella pertussis infection rates in the community, and that may be responsible for appearance of typical pertussis disease in infants and children. Pertussis is extremely contagious, with attack rates as high as 100% in susceptible individuals exposed to aerosol droplets at close range. Bordetella pertussis does not survive for prolonged periods in the environment. Chronic carriage by humans is not documented. With a natural disease, no vaccination provides a complete or lifelong immunity against pertussis, reinfection, or disease. Protection against typical disease begin to wane 3 to 5 years after vaccination and is unmeasurable after 20 years. Mhm. Now, now, Bordetella organism. Good day, pretty. Bordetella organisms are tiny, fastidious, gram-negative cucobacilli that colonize only ciliated epithelium. The exact mechanism of disease symptomatology remains unknown. Bordetella pertussis express pertussis toxin, the major virulence. Transmission mechanism aerogenic. Transmission route airborne. Infection occur with close and long enough contact with the patient whooping cough extend to 2 meters. And now we try to see this video. This video. Let's start.
Whooping cough is an acute respiratory disease that is caused by the bacterium Bordetella pertussis. Symptoms include severe coughing fits with a characteristic whooping sound followed by vomiting. Whooping cough is highly contagious. It can be spread by airborne droplets containing the bacteria, which are expelled during coughing or sneezing. The bacterial droplets can then be ingested by another person, spreading the infection. The bacteria infect the airways and damage epithelial cells. Some epithelial cells have brush-like cilia that beat in a coordinated fashion. Other epithelial cells, called goblet cells, produce mucus. The mucus forms a blanket over the tips of the cilia. It traps dust, pollen, and microbes. The cilia mechanically remove this debris by brushing it up and out of the airways. The pertussis bacteria infiltrate this barrier and attach to the cilia. The bacteria secrete toxins into the area. The toxins spread through the airways, causing the goblet cells and ciliated cells to rupture and die. The bacterial toxins also stimulate the goblet cells to release nitric oxide. This released nitric oxide also damages the cilia, causing them to break. The nitric oxide also causes extrusion, so some of the ciliated cells are forced out of the epithelium. The combination of these effects leads to significant epithelial damage and cilia with confused motion. This hinders the ability to mechanically remove mucus and debris. Mucus is not removed and builds up in the airways. The body attempts to rid itself of this build-up by causing a violent coughing fit. Bacteria containing droplets are released and may infect a new host, beginning the cycle again. Vaccination against diseases such as whooping cough is important for all of us to protect us from the disease itself. It is also important to protect others, such as newborns, who cannot be vaccinated until 2 months of age, or those such as the immunocompromised, who cannot tolerate vaccination.
Now let's move on. Clinical course. There are three stages. This disease. Stage 1 catarrhal, characterized by coryza, low-grade fever. Mild occasional cough becomes more severe. Stage 2 paroxysmal, characterized by paroxysm of numerous rapid cough due to difficulty expelling thick mucus, cyanosis, vomiting and exhaustion, a paroxysmal attack. Occur frequently at night with an average of 50 attacks per 24 hours. Increase in frequency during the first 1 to 2 weeks and then gradually decrease. Stage 3 convalescence, characterized by gradual recovery, less persistent paroxysmal coughs that disappear in 2 to 3 weeks. Paroxysms often recur with subsequent respiratory infection for many months after the onset of pertussis. The period of paroxysmal convulsive cough lasts from 2 to 3 weeks, up to 60 to 8 weeks and more. Coughing fit represents the following breathing pulses on exhalation interrupted by a wheezing convulsive breath. A repress that occur when air passes through narrowed glottis. Coughing fits can be short-term or last 2 to 5 minutes. And now we see next video.
Oh, puppy. Just small breaths. That's it. Good girl. Keep your hand up. Keep your hand up. It's okay. It's all right. Daddy's here.
And this video.
They're just kind of heavy. Uh-oh. There we go. Okay. It's okay.
Now you've seen whooping cough in a baby. It's really terrible. Uh, let's move on. With a mild form, the number of convulsive coughing attacks per day is 10 to 50. They are short. Vomiting does not happen. Moderate form. Fits of convulsive cough up to 50 to 20 times a day, prolonged and pronounced, often vomiting, and severe form, the number of attacks 30 or more, and in vomiting, pronounced signs of oxygen deficiency, constant perioral cyanosis, acrocyanosis, facial cyanosis, pallor of the skin, puffiness of the face, pustules are observed. Hemorrhages often occur on the skin of the neck, shoulder girdle, hemorrhages in the sclera. Sleep and appetite are sharply disturbed. Complication specific. There are specific complications, for example, pulmonary emphysema, atelectasis, pneumothorax, epistaxis pneumonia, apnea, violation of cerebral circulation, encephalopathy, cerebral edema, indomitable vomiting. Hemorrhages in the mucous membranes, sclera and retina, brain and spinal cord, tympanic breaks, a fatal outcome. Diagnostic pertussis should be suspected in any individual who has pure or predominant complaint of cough, especially if the following features are absent: fever, malaise or malaisia, exanthem or enanthem, sore throat, hoarseness, tachypnea, wheezes, and RAS. Leukocytosis, due to obsolete lymphocytosis is characteristic in the catarrhal stage. All current methods for confirmation of infection due to Bordetella pertussis have limitation in sensitivity. Isolation of Bordetella pertussis in culture remains the gold standard for diagnosis. Polymerase chain reaction analysis to test nasopharyngeal wash specimen has a sensitivity similar to that of culture. Serologic tests for detection of antibodies to Bordetella pertussis antigens in acute and convalescent samples are the most sensitive tests in immunized individuals and are useful epidemiologically. Clause of therapy are to limit the number of paroxysms, to observe the severity of the cough, to provide assistance when necessary, and to maximize nutrition, rest, and recovery without sequelae. Infants less more 3 months of age with suspected pertussis are always admitted to hospital. Premature born young infants and children with underlying cardiac, pulmonary, macular, or neurologic disorders have a high risk for severe, potentially fatal disease. Heart rate, respiratory rate, and pulse oximetry are monitored continuously. Typical paroxysms that are not life-threatening have the following feature: duration less than 45 seconds, red but not blue color change, tachycardia, bradycardia. An antimicrobial agent is always given when pertussis is suspected or confirmed, primarily to limit the spread of infection and secondarily for possible clinical benefit. Macrolides are preferred agents. Infants who have apnea, paroxysms that repeatedly lead to life-threatening events despite passive delivery of oxygen or respiratory failure require intubation, pharmaceutically induced paralysis, and ventilation. The principal complication of pertussis are apnea, secondary infectious and physical sequelae of forceful coughing, fever, tachypnea or respiratory distress between paroxysm, and absolute neutrophilia are close to pneumonia. Expected pathogens include Staphylococcus aureus, Streptococcus pneumonia, and bacteria of oropharyngeal flora. Increased intrathoracic and intra-abdominal pressure during coughing can result in conjunctival and scleral hemorrhages, petechiae, on the upper body, epistaxis, hemorrhage in the central nervous system and retina, pneumothorax, and subcutaneous emphysema. Progressive pulmonary hypertension in very young infants and secondary bacterial pneumonia are severe complication of pertussis and the usual cases of death. Vaccines. Vaccines can provide protection against whooping cough, and this protection can start before birth. By getting the whooping cough vaccine, known as TDAP, during third trimester of each pregnancy, a woman can pass antibodies to their babies, so they are born with protection. These maternal antibodies protect babies until they are old enough to get their own vaccine. Children get the vaccine known as DTAP in a series of 5 shots, starting at 2 months and ending with a booster shot before elementary school. Preteens should get a TDAP booster shot at 11 or 12 years of age. Anyone who didn't get the vaccine as a parent, as a preteen, is also recommended to get 1 dose of TDAP. 1 dose. Popularly known as triple antigen, DTAP is composed of tetanus and diphtheria toxoids, as well as killed whole cell pertussis bacilli adsorbed on insoluble aluminum salts, which act as adjuvants. The dose is 0.5 milliliter intramuscularly. The immunogenicity and effectiveness against diphtheria or tetanus of 3 doses of the vaccine exceeds 95%. Disease may occur in vaccinated individuals, but is milder. And now, now let's move on. Second part, our lessons. Second part. It's like measles. Measles. About measles. Mhm, mhm, mhm. And measles is an acute infectious disease from the group of spotted erythema. Children and adults of any age and any social group are susceptible to the measles infection. Measles may lead to the development of severe disease form and complication. It remains one of the main causes of death among infants around the world, despite a safe and effective vaccine. Mhm. The measles virus is a paramyxovirus, genus morbillivirus. There are only one antigenic type of measles virus. Measles virus is rapidly inactivated by heat, sunlight, acidic pH, and trypsin. It has a short survival time in the air or on objects and surfaces. Measles is a systemic infection. The primary site of infection is the respiratory epithelium of the nasopharynx. 2 to 3 days after invasion and replication in the respiratory epithelium and regional lymph nodes, a primary viremia occurs with subsequent infection of the reticuloendothelial system, following further viral replication in regional and distal reticuloendothelial sites. A second viremia occurs 5 to 7 days after an initial infection. During this viremia, there may be infection of the respiratory tract and other organs. Measles virus is shed from the nasopharynx, beginning with the prodrome until 3 to 4 days after rash onset. About epidemiology, measles. Measles occurs throughout the world. Reservoir. Measles is a human disease. There is no animal reservoir and an asymptomatic carrier state has not been documented. Transmission. About transmission. Measles transmission is primarily person to person via large respiratory droplets. Airborne transmission via aerosolite droplet nuclei has been documented in close areas for up to 2 hours after a person with measles occupied the area. Temporal pattern. In temperate areas, measles disease occurs primarily in late winter and spring. Measles are highly communicable, with greater than 90 secondary attack rates among susceptible persons. Measles may be transmitted from 4 days before to 4 days after rash onset. Maximum communicability occurs from onset of prodrome through the first 3 to 4 days of rash. Many countries are experiencing significant measles outbreaks, and all regions of the world are seeing steady increases in incidence. In 2017, the latest year for which preliminary figures are available, nearly 110,000 people died of measles. Even in high-income countries, nearly 1/4 of all complications lead to hospitalization, and complication can result in lifelong disabilities, ranging from cerebral disorders to blindness and hearing loss. Period of illness. The incubation period of measles from exposure to prodrome averages 10 to 12 days. From exposure to rash onset averages 14 days. The prodrome lasts 2 to 4 days. It is characterized by fever, which increases in stepwise fashion, often peaking as high as 48.5. This is followed by the onset of cough, coryza, or conjunctivitis. There is the view of a typical measles patient: rash, conjunctivitis, photophobia, running nose, and cough. The measles rash is a maculopapular eruption that usually lasts 5 to 6 days. It begins at the hairline that then involves the face and upper neck. During the next 3 days, the rash gradually proceeds downward and outward, reaching the hands and feet. The maculopapular lesions are generally discrete, but may become confluent, particularly on the upper body. Initially, lesions blanch with fingertip pressure. By 3 to 4 days, most do not blanch with pressure. Fine desquamation occurs over more severely involved areas. The rash fades in the same order that it appears from head to extremities. Other symptoms of measles include anorexia, diarrhea, especially in infants, and generalized lymphadenopathy. Main clinical symptoms of measles: severe intoxication with high body temperature, severe catarrh of the upper respiratory tract, cough, bright diffuse hyperemia of the oropharyngeal organs, scleritis, photophobia, serous conjunctivitis, enanthem of the mucous membrane of the soft palate, spots of Philat of Koplik, leukopenia, acute T-cell immunodeficiency, Koplik spots. Koplik spots are a rash present on mucous membranes, and considered to be main symptoms for measles. It occurs 1 to 2 days before the rash, to 1 to 2 days after the rash, and appears as punctate blue-white spots on the bright red background of the buccal mucosa. You can see in this slide. Differential diagnosis. Differential diagnosis with such as disease as rubella, infectious mononucleosis, parvovirus, rubella, for example, rash is pink, maculopapular and discrete. Infectious mononucleosis, rash is associated with generalized lymphadenopathy and hepatosplenomegaly. Rosella infantum, rash appears, fever disappears. And meningococciumia, for example, rash appears within 24 hours, fever, vomiting, irritability, and possibly stiff neck are present. Diagnosis. Isolation of measles virus is not recommended as a routine method to diagnose measles. Measles virus can be isolated from urine, nasopharyngeal aspirates, or throat swabs. Serologic testing most commonly by enzyme-linked immunoassay is widely available and may be diagnostic. Generally, will first mouth and IgM response and then an IgG response. The IgM response will be transient and the IgG response should persist for many years. IgG testing for acute measles requires demonstration of a four-fold rise in titer of antibody against measles virus. So two serum specimens are always required. The first specimen should be drawn as soon after rash onset as possible. The second specimen should be drawn 2 to 30 days later. A final classification of measles cases. While IgM ELISA tests are more sensitive between days 2 and 28 after the onset of rash, a single serum sample obtained at the first contact with the healthcare system within 28 days after onset of rash is considered adequate for measles surveillance. The universal immunization program of the government of India has included one dose of measles vaccine between 9 months and 12 months of age since 1985. In the revised routine immunization schedule, every child will get 2 doses of measles containing vaccine. The first dose between 9 months and 12 months of age, and the second between 16 months and 24 months of age. Along DTP booster dose. DTP. Yeah. There are various types of measles vaccines. The monocomponent is used in most African countries and in other. The combined mumps, measles, rubella, MMR vaccine is used instead in the rest of Europe and North America, in Russia. All these vaccines are attenuated viral vaccines that replicate within the host to induce protective immunity. The World Health Organization recommends the first dose to be given at 12 months and the second dose at 15 to 18 months. Now we try start the test. Are you ready? Write the test. Are you ready? Please write me the chat. Ready. Now let's start. After the end of the test, you can leave the webinar. Now let's start. 10 minutes.